Okay, excellent. That's very helpful knowledge. Welcome, everybody. It's 7 o'clock, so I guess we'll formally get started. And now I see how a lot of you guys work. Hopefully, I can kind of tailor my weird thoughts to connect with what you've been doing. All right. So my slide here is actually a Mercedes-Benz ad. I would love to say that I drew it, but I did not. I just feel that it illustrates a very important point that perhaps we just don't even think about as artists. So this is what the full ad looks like, showing you the difference between the left brain and the right brain. And kind of what they're responsible for, and not to get all scientific on you, but they have different functions, and people generally rely on one side or the other more. So we'll take a quick look at what each does. So here is kind of a closer up view of the left side, which illustrates the left brain. And in case you can't read the text, it says, I am the left brain. I am a scientist, a mathematician. I love the familiar. I categorize. I am accurate, linear, analytical, strategic. I am practical, always in control, master of words and language, realistic. I calculate equations and play with numbers. I am order. I am logic. I know exactly who I am. I feel that this greatly represents a portion of our SC community who enjoys drawing strictly from references, making them look as realistic as possible, really enjoying the technical aspects of drawing and technique, which is a beautiful thing. It's just not where I typically lie the majority of the time. Now, here's the illustration for the right side of the brain, which is probably where I fall most of the time, in case you haven't realized. It says right brain. I am the right brain. I am creativity, a free spirit. I am passion, yearning, sensuality. I am the sound of roaring laughter. I am taste, the feeling of sand beneath bare feet. I am movement, vivid colors. I am the urge to paint on an empty canvas. I am boundless imagination, art, poetry. I sense, I feel, I am everything I wanted to be. So while, I'm not all of these things, this is really more where my personality lays. Of course, I do left brain activities, but strictly talking about art, I like to fall into the right brain category. And I'm hoping that all you left brainers will at least open the door to some right brain activity. So, for the purposes of this endeavor, which is, by the way, a bit of an experiment because I'm not sure if you really can teach creativity, but there are a few things that helped me enhance my creativity for sure. Just a little short backstory. I gave up drawing and most artistic endeavors for a number of years as life got in the way. And, you grow into doing all those adult things and left brain mundane activities that you must accomplish. And slowly my creativity kind of withered away, as it does with most adults in general. So what I decided to do about a year ago was to really tap into my childlike side and throw out all preconceived notions of what things should look like, how they should be, if it was perfect or not. And that really helped me kind of break through and let go of some of my preconceived notions of how, my art should look. So if you were to, sit down and start a sketch, for me, a blank canvas is the hardest thing to sit down to. So immediately, I will put a background color of something, a gray, a black, a neutral, something like that, just so that I don't stare at a blank white canvas because it's a mental block. I would also ask that, all preconceived notions go away. Things do not have to be perfect, and you should learn to truly appreciate all happy accidents in art because there's no wrong way to do things. That's a hard lesson to learn, especially as adults. We have a really hard time accepting that things don't have to look exactly the way they do in real life, and that there's no right way to do it. So, Jody, name an object that you see every day. Okay, pirate. We will go with that. Um, One of the ways that I like to draw is to just play a word association game. I don't know if anybody else has played these word association games. It's kind of like a shrink test, a psychological test that they give you, sort of like ink blots. Basically, you come up with a word, start with a word, and you just play word association from there. So, like you said, pirate. Well, pirate's kind of hard for me to draw, especially under time constraints. So I will pick something related to a pirate. My first thought is pirate booty. So that's what I'll draw next. And because I love to dabble in the surreal, I will take objects and I will start to make them do things that they don't normally do in reality. So, for instance, the coins are going to be solid and they would never really leak out. They might spill over, they might, fall out of the container, but they wouldn't really drip out. But you know what? It's my drawing and I can do whatever I want with it. And that's the beauty of being able to draw stuff. So, so here we go. That I would take more time to actually make this a little bit more, drippy and clean up my lines and stuff. But for the purposes of just understanding where the ideas come from, I hope that this will work for you guys. So, coconut trees, huh? That's excellent. I will add some coconut trees. And since we're playing with our imagination, I'm going to make them special windmill coconut trees. You know why? Because I can. And the palms of the palm tree make me think of windmills. So now that I'm looking at this, I think, well, my windmill palm trees come together, and it looks like they should have something in the center of that. So what would go in the center of that that might go with my random theme? And it could be anything, but maybe we'll just stick with the pirate theme, just because it's kind of easier. You know what, Moon, right now this is all on one layer just because this is more like my idea sketch and not really what I would end up with. Like I said, I would take a lot more care to, technically work out my idea, but as far as getting your idea on paper, you should allow yourself all the tools that you want and not worry about straight lines and all of that because it helps the ideas flow better. And so I don't usually get bogged down in technique until after I've worked out at least my next few steps. Maybe you come looking around and you're like, well, that's kind of boring. I don't really know if I like that. So I can come through and I can make cutouts of stuff and insert things into that. See, and it might get to this point that you're like, oh my gosh, this looks totally not at all like the pirate sketch that I had hoped to crank out. And if you see a squid monster, then that is exactly what it is at this point, and you should carry on and go with that theme. So, anyway, this is one way that I, kind of play around. And you can keep going, so you can say, hey, I see a skull, what would I go with a skull? Maybe I put some, like, weird eyeballs somewhere. If I have this scary bird, he looks like his wings are popping out. Maybe I'd give him some horns. And if the gold is running out, maybe I would shrink everything down and make like a gold river or something like that. But basically, it's all working off the same premise of a word thought association. And does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so as you can see, the red made me feel like they were maybe curtains or something, and so then I wanted a little singer popping out to sing off the side there. So basically, there's a point where you have to kind of feel it out. But a lot of times, for creativity, instead of thinking like, I want to draw this, I want to draw a pirate, you should think more like, I want a pirate theme, but what are the shapes? What are the colors? What is the mood that you want to set? What is, some of the things that you want to incorporate, like waves or dripping water or something like that. So you can really build off of one idea just by tossing out your preconceived ideas of what a pirate should look like or what the setting should be. To be a little bit more clear, let's see, where do I get my words from? Initially, when it was really hard for me to kind of get used to working more creatively and less technically, I actually went to IdeaBot and I would type in /idea and ask for like 4 objects. And then I would see if I could build a story around those 4 objects. So if you look back at my gallery, you'll see some weird stuff with like random items in there. And that was really more of an exercise for me to practice how to intermingle them into something. It doesn't even really have to tell a story, but how do I make a glass coordinate with a windmill or with a book or, with something that's orange or whatever the case may be. I'll also say that a great way to expand your creativity and just vault of ideas is to, instead of looking through the internet for actual references, I look through the internet for all kinds of art, digital art, paintings, classical masterpieces, sculptures, jewelry, architecture. I love old churches and stuff like that. And once you strip away your idea of, oh, I'm looking at a church floor, then, it's easier for you to see the pattern or the shapes or the colors, because there's ideas everywhere. It's just we've trained ourselves to see them as a certain function. This is, a table. It's got a certain function. This is a chair. It has a particular function. But really, if you look at the shapes and the flow of things, maybe it's just a swirl on the arm of a chair. Maybe it's just one face out of a painting that you saw. Maybe it's some cool idea of something melting into, I don't know, something you hadn't thought before in a digital art piece. If you just kind of catalog those things in your brain, it's easier to really grab for ideas that way. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is actually an idea that I got from a really early challenge when I first started Sketch Club. It's a really great way to kind of mindlessly draw without the pressure of knowing what it's going to be before you put stylus to canvas. The challenge was to close your eyes and draw a line, some sort of squiggle, some sort of shape, without looking, with one line, and then to see what you can make out of it. That was, like I said, I think one of the first challenges I ever entered, and it was so helpful from then on to just give me something to do when I didn't know what to draw. So like here, I have no real idea what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna doodle for a minute and see what happens. See, so already you guys have all kinds of ideas about what this weird random thing should be. And that's exactly kind of how I go about sketching stuff. A lot of times when I see my like really, really weird stuff, I'll just start sketching something totally random that doesn't look like anything in particular. And eventually it tells me what it wants to be. So just because I'm going through this kind of quickly, I'll just add in some of these ideas to show you how it can go. But, you know, normally I take a little bit more time, make sure all my lines are clean and stuff like that once I got my squiggle and like shape down and stuff. But does this make sense? Anyway, I'll leave uni to all the like cute stuff. This isn't really my ballywick, so to speak. But anyway, that gives you another option when you really just don't know what to draw and you're staring down that blank canvas. The squiggle method is a very popular one with me, and hopefully it will help you out of a bind. Okay, so I guess my last main way of showing you how I draw upon my creativity is I personally like to draw from feelings. Don't judge me. I've been to a lot of therapy and stuff, and I get asked a lot of weird questions, introspective questions. So I've learned to really kind of look inward and see, like, is there something really bothering me today? Am I being like really weird and anxious just because? has it been a bad day at work? Like today, I'm pretty sick, so maybe I'll start with that. But just kind of touching on how you feel. If you've had an argument with your parents, if you're fighting with your spouse or whatever, it's very therapeutic to just sketch some of your feelings as opposed to, working on technical skills that maybe you're just not in the mood for at that time. So, anyway, here we go. I'll start off and we'll see where it goes. Okay, so you can see it doesn't look all that much like me, but we're going to get there. We're going to show you how I eventually transform it. It doesn't have to look exactly like me. It just really kind of has to represent how I'm feeling, so I don't get too worked up yet. Yes, their nose quirks, because my nose is very stuffed up. Oh, if I had cheese puffs up my nose, then I would totally have cheese puffs for later. I only wish they were cheese puffs. So even that's kind of a little bit boring to me, so I'll add something else closer to her head. Anyway, it doesn't have to be so literal, but I find that just starting with a feeling, and then maybe adding, asking yourself a question about why you're feeling that way, you tend to then play word associations, but they're real feelings, so it's not just regular words, if that makes sense. So maybe I'll get done with all this, and I go, okay, well, I don't want it to be a sketch of me being sick. It looks more like this to me, or maybe some evil creature, or maybe I want to make the nose plugs turn into hoses and do something else with it, or maybe I don't like the eyes, but I like everything else, so I'll put goggles on it, and maybe I'll put a space scene in the goggles. But it's basically, feeding off of something that you're feeling, and then just winging it from there, and this is exactly what we call the wing it technique. I can't take credit for the wing it technique copyright. That's something I actually learned from Julio. But it works in all regards. I wing most of what I draw. If I plan it out, it doesn't even matter, because by the time I get done drawing the second object in my sketch, it wants to be something else. I can try to force it to do what I planned, but it always looks weird. And once you learn to be a little bit more in tune with, hey, and accepting this crazy, wacky idea, I understand it's a wacky, hippie idea, that an inanimate object, especially one that you're creating, can actually have a want or desire. But I firmly believe it's true. So I'll draw a couple of things. I'll have a basic idea in mind, and then I kind of stop and look at it and let it tell me what it wants. Maybe it wants something, up in the right-hand corner. Maybe it needs a little bit more blue. Maybe it's too boring and it needs a cutout. But let me show you a couple of quick ways just to add some interest in a surreal fashion that wouldn't normally be in a realistic sketch. So here's just like a couple of, odd ideas that if something looks boring to me or like a standard picture, I like to make, a frame or a tear, or add something that is unexpected that shouldn't be there. So anyway, here's a couple of different ways to do it. And, are there any questions at this point? Okay, so there is going to be a compo, I'm told. What would be awesome is if everybody would sketch something not using a reference. You can use ideas from a reference, but you cannot use a reference. And I want you to put on your little kid jammies and your thinking caps and employ one of the techniques we talked about today, whether it be something, just a word association or idea bot or something from your feelings, and really attempt to draw something surreal and add something unusual and unexpected to the sketch. So it will run for 1 week, and I'm sure that the compo rules will be listed on the home page in short order. But if you have any questions, or if anyone needs any help, like kind of getting started, then feel free to message me. I'm happy to help. No references, no references. And I would just like to give everybody permission to let go of the references. Your lighting doesn't have to be perfect. Your shapes don't have to be perfect. Accept a little imperfection. You know, it's funny because I like to think of art kind of like people, in the respect of if we all did the same thing and we all created perfect art and perfect sketches and perfect reproductions, then things would be kind of boring overall. So whether you like surreal art or abstract art or not, kind of not the point. Sometimes it's more about the journey, I like to believe, and also it just keeps things interesting and the wheels of ideas churning. So while you might not use an idea today, you might use it, 3 weeks from now or a year from now. And hopefully this has taught you a little bit on how to cultivate a little bit more about that. Astro, a reference would be any image that you have set side by side to sketch from, so that you can look at it as you're sketching. You can use references just for ideas purposes, which is what I do. I'll look at a bunch of pictures. I'll maybe save a few in a file. But when I go to sketch, I don't usually put anything out for me to refer to, just because it stifles my own creativity. If anyone would like me to continue drawing some ideas, I'm happy to kind of hang around for another half hour and sort of draw some weird stuff if you like. But if not, thank you very much for coming, and hopefully I look forward to seeing some more creative art. Yes, of course, COVID, and that's perfectly okay. You're just trying to stray away from an exact copy of something. So if there's a reference image that gives you a great idea that leads you down a path, then I think that's wonderful.